Feeding cats and dogs. Feeding cats and dogs.
I want to. Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is the Farma G. Yeah, I felt the danger so intense.
Where are we?
Where are we? Well, I'm here with you, Solomon Pace, at the famous. Oh, sorry, here we are over there.
Yeah.
We're at the famous Snooty Fox.
It used to be called.
It used to be called the Grosvenor, which is the road that we're actually on. This is Grosvenor Avenue, and this is the main pub that would have fed Highbury Estate. And a lot of us had our first pints here. And
Of legal age?
You
don't have to say anything.
Probably not. I mean, the shops over there, I was getting tenants, super tenants from over there from very early teens. So, yeah, who knows? But yeah, very nice place to be sitting, full of nostalgia for me. It smells better than it did 30, 40 years ago.
It smells right in here. Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not bad.
Wait till the roasts get cooking. I feel like I'll start salivating.
I mean, I'm a vegetarian,
Oh,
so
no.
to me it's like,
Oh, shit.
but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess before we probably get into it, just think we need to make sure listeners are aware of what greatness stands for me, or at least what I feel is greatness. I mean, got a founding member of Berry Crew, Mud Fam, Task Force. I mean, now an internationally prolific producer. I mean, definitive, formative voice in UK hip hop. And also, I mean, I feel like when I was growing up, I damn near heard you and your brother Chester P's voice more than my own parents at points, you know, like, you're an absolute legend. It's Farma G.
Thank you. I mean, still, even to this day, I find that very difficult to, you know what I mean? It's
I saw a little smirk when I was saying that.
yeah, I mean, it's not the first time I've heard it. I'm sure it won't be the last time. But every time it's always very humbling. I don't know if humbling seems like the most obvious thing to say, but it does something internally to my being when hearing, because you have to think a lot of yourself to be able to take what you just said and just let it run off your back. For me, it doesn't run off my back because I don't think massively of myself in the first place. It takes a lot for me to champion myself. So when I hear others doing it, it's like, oh.
So I guess less than running off your back, it's more kind of weighing on your shoulders from the sounds of it.
It's a responsibility because during all the, you know, being a founding member of Berry Crew, being a task force guy, and all the way, the running theme throughout all of those times for me was that I was absolutely off my nut and not necessarily the greatest of human beings. So when people say, yeah, you know, like you just said, oh, maybe I heard your voices more than my own parents, I think, damn, maybe that was a mistake. But I hear what you're saying, though, and I get it definitely, because there were voices that I listened to when I was a youth that I would say I probably listened to more than my own mum and dad as well. So I do get it, but it's a big weight on a shoulder.
Yeah, well, I guess without making it too personal, I think definitely listening to you guys made me a better person. You know, like, got my vocabulary up at the very least, got my imagination up at the very, you know.
That's a good thing.
Taught me my English language.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's great. That's great, because I think both me and Chester, my brother, we love the English language, and if there's anything that we've always loved, and maybe people haven't recognized as much, is we love words. We love the use of the English language, and we're very proud of it too, to be able, as children who we both dropped out of secondary school. I was out before I did my mock GCSEs. I was gone, so I have no formal qualifications whatsoever, but have always continued to strive to try and educate myself. School didn't really tantalize my interest. Even music. People always say, yeah, but music. I said, no, the music was the worst. Art
Mad.
was the worst. I used to graph alongside my school career. I used to make music alongside my school career, but art lessons and music lessons were the worst because it was so far off from what any of us really wanted to learn within the art itself, which is what I think is kind of lost in the school system. Now I think it's getting better because they have, an understanding. Well, actually, these kids want to spit bars, they want to write songs, they want to build tracks, they want to do like, and these things are much easier to learn and teach. Yes.
But also, just to frame it even further, we're here because you've got an album coming out at the end of the month.
Yep, How to Kill a Butterfly.
31st of January, right?
31st of January.
It's humdinger, as Ed Scissor told me, and I agree with that evaluation very strongly. But it's funny because I mentioned this earlier. You got that line on Here Come the Gods, where you weren't even born when I first hit the clubs. And that's literally me. I mean, I was born in 98, right? And is there an element of kind of setting the record straight with the project a little bit, kind of reminding those?
Yeah. I mean, it's a smorgasbord, man. It's like there's a whole. I'm very, what do you call it? Fluid with my thinking. So I could think one thing one day and then think another the other. And I'm not sentimental about changing my opinion. Some people are really rigid when it comes to like, I think this, I've always thought this, and I'm never going to flip and change. And I've always thought that was a real sucker thing to do. I think you can be wrong. And I've been wrong a million times. So I just say what I think at the time. And, even something as new as this album, I listen to some of it and I think, some of the things I say and I think, oh, what was I thinking? And maybe I was wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have said it. But you say it because it's art at the time. You're reflecting what you're feeling in real time. And that's what it is. And, we put it onto vinyl and it's there as testament to how you felt for the rest of your days.
Yeah. But it's funny as well you say that because, I mean, you're saying it's kind of in the moment, but there's some real long-running themes, continuity going through the project, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, there is.
Stuff like Junkyard, right? Where that's like deep cut, Farma G lore.
Yeah. And I wanted to approach the Junkyard thing from in a real time again. For me, it's important for people to know that I'm not a kid, and I don't want to be a kid. I don't want to be a kid. I'm very happy being an ancient old dude, but I'm competitive, and I'll compete on the same level as the kids.
Yeah.
If maybe not, but I'll give it a go. So with the Junkyard track, I wanted it to be relative to today. So I didn't want to speak about it like as if I lived there.
Yeah.
Because I don't. Because I've grown up and I don't look at it the same way. But what I can see is that they've all grown up. All the people we would have spoke about on Junkyard, produced by Skits, and the ones that we've done on the Music from the Corners, there would have been people we saw in the neighborhood, people we've heard stories about, or seen on the news or whatever. And now these people have all grown up as much as I have. Some of them are dead. Some of them have changed their lives. Some of them have made it different for themselves. But we all see what happens in real time. And that's kind of what I wanted with the new Junkyard track, to say, no matter what we are, we change.
Yeah.
And it's either going to be one way or the other, or a couple other variations of that. But we're on a journey. We're going to get somewhere, and we're going to look back at it, and we can kind of see what was. Sometimes you can predict it, and sometimes it's a complete surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess to explain, Junkyard is Highbury Estate, which
Junkyard,
we just wanted about a moment ago.
Highbury Estate.
Which is where the journey began for you lot.
For me, the journey began in Norfolk.
Okay.
I was born in 1974 in Norfolk. I lived very appropriately in a place called Thieves Lane.
Oh, really?
In a place called Diss.
Wow.
In Norfolk. And we were there for 2 years. My mum and dad lived with me on a commune for some of that time. And we moved to Finsbury Park. My brother was born in 1976 in a squat in Finsbury Park on Avenel Road, which is where the old Highbury Stadium is. I'm a lifelong Arsenal supporter. We moved to Highbury Estate in maybe 1977, and were there for many years. And that was where that's where everything happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's funny hearing, I went back and watched the DJGone.tv freestyle, which kind of tells, and it's like one of the best freestyles kind of videos you can find on the internet, to me at least. It's just so beautifully raw. And it tells a lot of the story, right? And listening to that again, it made me realize, it felt like moving to the estate was a bit of a tough experience as well in some ways.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Actually, really, really was. I was trying to remember which one you're talking about. You're talking about...
Oh, I think it's the second one. But I mean, not that would...
when I basically tell the story of what was going down.
In 1985, the spark was ignited. When mum and dad fighting, we was freestyling. Chess was only 9 years old and had mad bars about drugs and jail cells and cops trying to beat him up.
That actually, I recorded that properly to a beat by The Purist. The beat that you hear on the freestyle, actually, yeah that's by The Purist, who works closely with Sonny and Dope Records. And we sold it as an NFT.
Did you?
Yeah.
I totally missed
because
that.
people always say to me, oh no, no one knows. But people always say, yo, what about that track? Did you ever put that out? I say, we did put it out. But we sold it slyly as an NFT to someone who wanted something very special. So
Mad.
People won't really ever hear that again, which is a shame, but the DJ Gone freestyle's still up. So
it's funny you say that, actually, because I think on the video, if you say at the end of the video, it's in the comments, you're like, I'm recording this soon. And this is what, 20, 15 years ago?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did record it and I put it up maybe on SoundCloud. So it appeared on SoundCloud maybe for a year or so. And then I took it down and then I found it again and I put it back up. And then that's when someone approached me and said, would you repackage this? Excuse me.
Nice.
They asked if I would repackage it and maybe think about doing it as an NFT, which sounded like, I mean, I don't know, even now I don't know what it is, but when he said that's how much we'll get for it, I said, oh, well, yeah, fine, we'll do it. And that's what happened with that, but yeah.
Nice, yeah. But I mean, there's so much in that freestyle that continues into this
sorry.
project. No, it's
I went right around and I forgot the point. I do remember your point. It was very difficult starting off in Highbury Estate because we looked different. Within my community in Highbury Estate in 1977, you had a lot of Irish people, a lot of Irish families. You had some Caribbean families. You had white English. You had a bit of Asian, bit of this, that, and the other, but predominantly those elements. And we looked like, because my dad was a musician a bit, and they were a bit like bohemian, I suppose, at that time. The dregs of the 60s, still a bit like, dragging it out a bit. And we had our windows put through.
Shit.
It was deep. It was deep, but slowly but surely, we integrated into the community and became one with it. And it was a beautiful thing. I never would want to change it. But yeah, it was rough. It was tough. Had my fair share of beatings and, going through the turmoil of growing up in a place where everyone's trying to live, basically, especially the youth. Yeah. It was tough. And also it was, it was the end of a really shit decade. The 70s were a dismal experience. And the 80s were brilliant and beautiful. And I'm so happy I grew up in the 80s and experienced the stuff I did.
It's funny because that kind of brings it to what I was thinking about next, was in that freestyle you say in 1985, the spark was ignited.
Absolutely.
I feel like there's a similar line on this project as well, something about the 80s as well. Yeah. So out of this kind of rough period came some beauty, right? So this is when you first started rapping.
Yeah, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Parallel to everything good was always something not so great. There was always there's always hardship. If it wasn't just being in poverty, it was the adversity, the anger, the violence of living in said estate, which, you know, in hindsight is just how estates are wherever you are.
Yeah.
For us, it was very personally the junkyard experience. It was rough, but like you say, out of this really rough environment, something very beautiful was growing. There was the BMXing, there was graph, there was breakdancing, and all of this stuff just suddenly exploded in the very early 80s. And my elders were wearing Ticini tracksuits with Adidas, with the rubber shell toes and like Kangol hats, and we were like, yo. And there were certain documentaries and stuff you would see, obviously Spray Can Art and Subway Art, Henry Chalfont, and these pivotal moments where there was an interest that was like, what is this? There was radio shows, Dave Pearce, Mike Allen, anyway, radio shows where it was like, what is this music? And the interest came and never went.
Mad.
In fact, it just grew stronger and stronger and stronger to the extent where, you know, we'd go to the shops with our pocket money and buy vinyl records to play on our little suitcase, 1970s suitcase fucking record player.
Mad. It's the time that captivates me. Obviously, as someone who wasn't there, right? And like, in the year 1985, I mean, is that what? That's before London Posse were a thing?
Well, no, I do believe they were active around that time.
Okay, yeah.
Some of the earliest UK, I was not interested in UK rap.
Interesting.
Oh,
Okay.
hell no.
Yeah.
No. I was one of those guys. I was, I mean, let's put it straight. When my interest in rap was initially peaking, rappers used to rap like that.
The message.
So, so listen, my bars that I was writing, I sounded like that.
Mad. Yeah.
It's only later in the 80s that, oh, London Posse, oh, MC Duke, MC Mello, oh, all these different artists, London Posse, but especially one group in particular, the Demon Boys, because they were from North London, they were from Tottenham, and I don't know, man, maybe it's just my mind state, my brother's mind state, or us as an entire community, but we were very, what do you call it when it was all about our ends.
Yeah.
You know, it was very, like, we're North London, mate. Like, we're Highbury Estate, North London's finest.
Yeah.
And literally the granddaddies of North London were the Demon Boys. And when we heard the North Side, it was like, yo. And then listening to them guys, it's like, all right, this has got to go. This has got to go. So, because the Demon Boys had obviously a big Jamaican flavor, so then, you know, we start and come, and then, you know, we linked up with Skinny's, and we're like, oh, this is interesting. You know, things change, and you move forward and tighten up your style and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, trust me, I wasn't interested in UK hip hop one bit. I was just thinking, how could I be like Slick Rick? How could I make La Di Da Di into something that I can do? And that was the beauty of falling in love with that track, particularly in 1985. It was on Top of the Pops, which is ridiculous to think about it now, but it was like, hold on, Chester, we can do this in our room. We don't even need a drum machine. We don't even need to record it. I'll do the beat and you do the rap. And then when you do the beat, I'll do the rap. And it's like, so as little kids, you're like, we don't even need no money for this art.
Yeah.
And that's it right there. The evolution of art is like, you don't need any money. So when you got these guys now, they're like, oh, I need to have an NPC. It's like, no, you get your guy to beatbox, practice, do something for free. Like, do it without having this like jail of like, I need to buy stuff and then I'm going to be great. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Just let it grow. Like, it's all very immediate now. It's like, it's 40 years I've been practicing, and I still practice, and I love doing it, and I listen to guys who are 20 years old. Listen to guys who are 38, but I'm still a student. I want to hear what everyone's doing. I'm an avid pupil of the art, and that should never die in a person. You got to be ground up. You can't just be like, yeah, let me just get in on the 7th floor. No, fuck that. Go down here and practice your art until it's refined enough for you to go and present yourself. Or else people are just gonna laugh at you. They're all gonna laugh at you.
So when you say the spark was ignited, is la-di-da, la-di-da-di the click of the lighter, proverbially?
There was other stuff before it, but that particularly was, like I say, the revelation of it being completely organic. Because I wasn't really sure what beatbox was until that. I mean, I'd heard the Fat Boys and I knew they did their beatbox. I'd heard some Tila Rock tracks. I knew there was I knew what it was. But to have it with such finesse and style, and have a rapper who is so absolutely amazing and skilled as a songwriter, but also a storyteller, and to be so entertaining to the mind of however old I was, 10 years old, it was like explosions going off, because it's like, this is like nothing I've ever heard in my life, and it is hilarious. It's funny. He's talking about stuff I don't know what it is he's saying. So when you hear stuff like that as a child, you start your inclination, if you have it, is to start studying. What is this they're talking about? What are those things? Just like when we first heard like the West Coast stuff and they were talking about St. Ides. As an English kid, you don't know what that is. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you just like carry on listening to it, rapping the lyrics, going, yeah, I got my 40 and da 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 da, but you don't know what it is. So if you're a student of the game, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to say, well, what is this? We didn't have internet. So there's a lot of mistakes being made. It's like, yeah, man, he's talking about this. And it's like, no, he's talking about a gun. It's like, no, but you don't drink a gun. Well, what could it be? So
Mad.
Yeah, obviously now it's like, oh, obviously it's a 40 ounce of drink. But as a child, you're like, we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Because we would never, how would you know? You wouldn't. So you learn, and we have elders that have been listening longer than us, and they would come round, we would politic, and we would say, they would say, yeah, but that's not it, listen to this. It's like, oh, that's interesting, but that's also a real building block to have as a foundation, is to have elders who are willing to teach and talk and put you straight. Like, sometimes when you're young, you're ignorant enough to think that you know what's what. And you're like defiant. Like, nah, I know what it is. And then the elder will say, no, you're talking shit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Because, I mean, again, it goes back to being a student of the English language, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I wanted to ask, I guess, where did the name Farma? Because you started off with a different name, right? Was it MC?
It's funny, I've been talking about this quite a lot recently, like even to my missus, because she was like, well, you've always been far. I said, no. I started off as Just Juice.
Okay.
And that would have been 40 years ago.
Wow.
I would have been Just Juice. MC Just Juice, time to bust loose. You're saying it's about time for me and you to make a truce, to get together, to be friends. And like a train, you're right at the end of the line.
Jeez.
That lyric is 40 years old, rude boy.
Still got the rhythm and the cadence.
All it needed was a ha 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 at the end. But you know, at the same time, Just Juice, I think just before Farmer, when we were rapping on the circuit in the London Underground, in clubs, open mics, I was Descent, DSENT, and I've always incorporated. I've always, well, I'm not anymore. I've always been a grapher, so a lot of the times my graph tags, you know, we change our tags all the time, and I was always looking for the perfect tag. So I was Descent for a little while. Then I thought, oh, that's not a bad rap name. I was Crazy Crockett. And then I thought, I don't know why I thought Farma Giles. Because originally it was Farma Giles.
Yeah.
And that just comes from, it's just an old English term, isn't it? Like we just call our farmer Farma Giles. And I think farmers, they cultivate, they plant a crop, they reap it, they sow some more seeds. And for me, that was always kind of the concept behind it, was that I grow stuff, I grow ideas, but then after rethinking it, trying to work it out, it became, is it an acronym? Anagram? Yeah, acronym. So, fortified
Nice.
aspects represent me alone, genuinely.
Nice.
So Farma G is, but Farma, I tried not to have the G, because G makes it really like, it's a bit old sounding, isn't it? Like all the older rappers, they've got like an initial at the end of their name. Yeah. And I thought, for ages I've been trying to drop it, and it felt nice when I was Farma Beats, because I was like, yeah, I'm Farma Beats. And then I just knew when this whole thing about doing a new record and resurfacing and being like, hey, I'm back, I knew that I'd have to have the G. So
it's back again.
Yeah,
whether you want it or not.
And people fair enough. Yo, what's the G, man? What are you, like some kind of gangster or like? And people, and I think it's fair. I think people are offended, artists, rappers especially. We seem to be offended when people put us on the spot and question stuff that is rightfully questionable. So it's like, fair enough. It's like, that's why I always say I'm fluid with my opinions, because you can pull me up and you could say, yo, Farms, back in da-da-da-da, you were saying da-da-da-da-da. And I'll say, hand on heart, I was talking absolute shit. I was this old, and now I'm this old. And it's like, please do not hold me to my 25-year-old self. Do not hold that 25-year-old accountable for this 50-year-old's. You know what I mean? I'm here now. This is what I am now. And I think people rightfully should ask the questions, whether it's on YouTube in a snarky little comment or whatever they want to do. And I think it's a thin line where now we can conversate. Artists, we can have a communications with a fan. Yeah. And sometimes a fan doesn't necessarily want to be nice. They want to ask something that might make you feel uncomfortable. But I think it's right that we communicate. If we didn't have the internet and all these different functions where now we can communicate one-on-one, where we never would have been able to. I'm the controller of my social media. So whenever anyone says anything, I read it. Yeah, so if you send me a message, it's not going to be someone else reading it. I know some people where they got 90,000 followers. It's like, I'm too busy to look at all this stuff. Fine. But me, I still check all my shit. So sometimes people write to me and they're like, they got a bee in their bonnet, and I welcome that. I think it's right, because it's like, well, what other reason would there be for us to have this form of communication in the first place? So anyone who wants to chat and get stuff off their chest,
you might regret that. But
no, I don't. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't regret it, because, like I say, it's like I'm not infallible as a human being, and I'm always, like I say, I'm a student to the game, but I'm also a student in life. I'm still someone who wakes up every day and wants to find out something new.
Yeah.
Or for my missus to say, that's not really the right thing to do or say to your child, or because we've all got our own way of doing stuff. And I'll say, oh, really? Okay, I'll have a think about that. And we live and we learn and we grow. And really, at the end of one's journey as a human being, fuck being a rapper or an artist, at the end of my journey, I want to be able to at least lie there, hopefully lie there and not just get knocked over, but to be able to have that moment where I can think to myself, how many things are on my list still?
Yeah.
I want to tick all this shit off. I want to have a halo.
Yeah.
Not in some, weird, like, kind of like, I'm really powerful and special. Just to know that one has done what they're meant to do. And I think when you're here as a human being, you're meant to learn. And obviously your first years, your first decade, your second decade, your third decade, you're just making a fucking mess of everything. So by your 40s, coming out of your 40s, getting into your 50s, you need to be starting to smooth stuff out. And if you're not, then that's the point. So if you're fluid with your opinions and your ideas and you're open, why can't I learn from a young man or a young lady who comes along and says, I've just, this is how, and then be like, Jesus Christ. 'Cause when I was young, I was sordid.
Yeah.
So everything was like, there was something else going on. So I couldn't learn. I was a parent when I was 17. So I was raising a child as a child. So I never grew as an adult. Only until my children have become old enough for me to say, well, I need to learn how to be a flipping adult before it's done. So I'm a little bit stunted in my growth as an adult. So I'm taking my time to learn shit.
Sam, I feel like the farmer name, the cultivator, you've grown into it as well over years. It sounds quite fitting.
You're trying
now.
to say I look like one now?
Nah, I meant more you. This philosophy, man. It's the cultivator. You've really grown into that title. It's sick to see in those ways. But I guess also on the beat making side, the cultivator of other people's voices.
Yeah.
Because I was wanted to ask why, out of everyone, it kind of felt like you became the producer for everyone, right?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean,
again, it's the cultivator in a sense,
Yeah. I just love creation. I love. For me, I'm not trying to be a cliche of my own self, but I don't find it like difficult to create. When it's flowing, it's flowing. When it's not a problem. It's not a worry. It's not an issue. I don't start running around thinking it's gone, it's disappeared, because time has shown me, don't worry about it. It might be a week, might be a month, might be a couple of years, but it doesn't go anywhere. Used to smoke loads of weed, stopped smoking weed, shit myself. This ain't the same. This ain't the same. But then, ultimately, a year or two down the line from not smoking, it's like, no, it isn't the same. It's more, there's something else that was different. But it's just a wonderful blessing, and people should enjoy being able to create.
Yeah.
And not stress so much about it, because when you make it stressful, it's just becomes, then why are you doing it? Because we don't necessarily get paid handsomely. So I make beats every day, just because it's like me having a drink, or it's like me having a spliff.
Yeah.
So my routine, I always used to think having a spliff is a ritual. The rolling up, the weed, the crumble, the roach. It was very ritualistic. And I believe lots of things that we do as habits you could interpret it as ritual, depending on what you are doing it for. But me, I always smoked because I thought it was enhancing something of my creativeness. So it was very ritualistic to do. And then once the ritual was gone, it was like, but now I can see, well, the actual beat making is the ritual.
Yeah.
The actual sitting down and writing is the ritual. Then recording it is the ritual, and all these different things. So we find a way around it.
I guess kind of hopping back onto the story, so to speak. You were a producer for Berry Crew, Mud Fam, and I mean, this is the kind of personal question for me: is it's almost like a land before time, that era. You know, before the 2000s, right? There was people went with camera phones, filming everything, and uploading it to YouTube. But there's like you catch drips and drabs from older people, like messages on forums sometimes about shit that gone down. I just kind of wanted to ask what it was like through the early 90s, that kind of shit. There was the Mudlums night.
Muslims, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so there is a timeline, and I think probably people have spoken about it before. We all have different interpretations of the timeline. What I can remember the timeline being is Highby Grove was my secondary school. I went to secondary school. In my second year, I met Intense. Intense used to freestyle. I'd always been like a very undercover rapper. So I started doing beatbox for Intense. Intense used to rap. We started getting into battles with a guy called Mike Skiller, who was a year above us and was really cool. Like he actually looked cool. Whereas me and Intense, we were just kind of like little rats. So we'd have massive battles where there'd be like 100 kids gathering around. They were really flipping good battles. And then that kind of the opposition. So Mike Skiller was the opposition. And it was like as if we were enemies. Let's say that. Then there was a youth club at Highby Grove. We met Skinny, who used to, for some reason I thought he came to our school. He didn't come from our school at all. He just used to come to the school so often it looked like he went to our school. He came there. We all sat in the changing rooms one time. He started freestyling. Intense started freestyling. Chess started freestyling. I was like, whoa, but this is without Mike Skiller. So Skinny and my brother, they kind of bonded around that time. So I'd say we were 14, 15. And then I used to do like street stuff. Let's just say it wasn't legal stuff. And it involved taking things off people. And I met Mongo, I do believe, through those activities completely separately. Mongo knew Skinny already. So just being from an area, so you had Finsbury, you had Canonbury, you had Highbury where Intense came from. So I sat with, there's one more part to the story. So I met a girl and I had a child, my first child with this girl. And with no intention and without any knowledge, it was Mike Skiller's sister.
Oh, mad.
And he was an enemy, remember? So I had to go to the house with my head and my tail between my legs and made it very clear. This was, sorry, and we made friends.
So you had no idea that they were...
No idea.
Mad.
And when she said, I'm Michael's sister, I was like, no effing way. So everything was cool. Baby was born. So must have been 17. Mike Skiller, he had started a rap group called Dominant Force, which made tracks called Raptivity, Criminals, and were popular, toured Europe and did good stuff. Me and Intense, particularly, who Intense was my best friend, we were a bit jealous. We sat down one day with Mike Skiller after the Dominant Force stuff and said, would you like to start a crew? My brother had started Mud Family with Mongo and Skinny. And me, Intense, Mike Skiller sat down and we said, what's a crew? What can we call ourselves? Finsbury, Highbury, Canonbury. Let's call ourselves the Berry Crew. And that was that. Obviously, Chester became Berry Crew and Mud Fam. And then we went on. Mudlums became a thing. We put on the night Mudlums, which was an amazing experience for not just us, but people who took part. The tapes they're up there on YouTube. You can listen to how cool they were. And that's really it. But it was a really beautiful organic journey of groups of amazing individuals like Skinny. He's just an amazing individual. Mongo, amazing individual. Me and my brother, amazing dudes. Intense, incredible guy. Mike Skiller, my mentor. My mentor when it comes to NPCs. He taught me how to use he had an NPC, taught me how to use it. Me and Intense bought an NPC. I learned on that even more. And then you know, it was 2000, I bought my own NPC and then never stopped.
Damn. Mad. Because there's another thing I heard about around that time, and I can't remember if I'm misremembering it. Was it? And the only evidence I found of this was on some like weird forum that has probably been deleted now.
It's always a weird forum.
Yeah, for everything. But something about, was it Skinny battling Common or something, or Chester battling?
No, so look, right. I say something on the album, there's a track, people will hear it, and it kind of goes through a little bit of a history. But we were, I said before, we were like, we wanted to assassinate the scene.
Yeah.
Even more so when we heard Wu-Tang Clan. We suddenly felt that's our identity because there was lots of us, and we were, you know, I'm not a bad person. I was on the street a little bit doing this and that, but we had it around us. We could move as a squad, so we'd move as a squad to places and cause heaps of fucking trouble. And lots and lots of bridges were burnt very early on lots of different levels. Radio, lots of different levels where people were like, don't let them fucking guys come anywhere near what we're doing. We would smash down the back doors of all the venues. We'd get in for free.
Mad.
People like John Z D, he will remember when he used to put on a night called Apricot Jam, and we'd always burst the back door. Now, when you get older, you realise, look, this guy's just trying to put on an event, and it's not really fair that 15 guys have just burst the back door and come, you know, come in like causing. Because they were righteous dudes. Johnsy's a beautiful guy. He's a very righteous, right on guy. And Johnsy knows it's all love. And I've made my apologies and stuff formally in person over the years to all the people who've been, at the wrong end of our foolish behaviours and whatnot. But we were like that. So we were like assassins. And we really thought like, look, we're just gonna fucking take everyone out, like rappers, whoever, and whoever gets in the way, it's on. And it spilled out into violence, and people were hurt, people were stabbed. There's all kinds of madness that come with thinking that you're like, we're the top guys. Obviously we weren't, because on the street we weren't really top guys. We were just angsty little teenagers trying to be fresh. We took it a little bit. We took ourselves very seriously, maybe too much. So my brother battled Common.
Okay.
Common. I think Common was very drunk. I think my brother was very drunk. And there's lots of different interpretations from loads of different people. Who won what? Who said this? Who said that? Intense battled Old Dirty Bastard on stage.
Okay.
At maybe Stratford Rex or something. I don't know. There'll be people who remember these things better than I do. Who did Skinny battle? Skinny battled someone as well. But it was like when the Americans came over, it was one of them feelings of like, we've got to show these guys that this ain't their town. Idiots. But yeah, I think it was Eminem, wasn't it? I think
that's why I was getting confused. Maybe
I
it's
think Skinny
battled Eminem.
Yeah, Skinny had a thing with Eminem, but like I say, there's loads of different interpretations. Some people would say it wasn't a battle. Some people but notoriously, man like Chester, Skinny, Intense, especially those three, they were battle cats, and that's where that whole battle cat thing comes from. Is that we were that.
Damn.
And we wore that with pride. Well, we would go to nights out, get to the door, and pretend we were some other prestigious guests. And the person on the door's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And we did that over and over. And then they would come in and be like, yo, where's the fucking people who's just come in on, like, and we'd be all like,
Yeah, put that up.
yeah, we're here. But it was fun because it was just an extension of what we grew up doing. So it was no sweat. But when you get older, you realize, how comes no one lets us, like, how comes no one invites us to none of, how comes no one talks about, and then it's like, well, because we fucking pissed everyone off so much. All of the generation before us, like your DJ Pogos, your DJ Business, your DJ 279, like the disrespect that we showed our elders, who weren't in any way trying to stop us or say, no, little boys, we're the guys. There was even none of that. We just, in our minds, we were like, and they were just like, get the fuck out of here. It was like, what? And it's like,
Mad.
but really, they're our fucking elders, and we should have had more respect. And there was a lot of bridges that were, some that were never rebuilt. A lot of them, like I say, individually, I've always extended my apologies and shook people's hands and said, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you bring up Wu-Tang, because I feel like, I guess, kind of jumping forward to where you are now, and it's you're kind of producing for the East Coast cats and stuff like that now. And in a weird way, like, I was thinking about it, and because it just makes sense when you're doing the work with Rome Streets and maybe those affiliated with Griselda and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like at the same time, and correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously before I was born, but I feel like you and Wu-Tang both at the same time kind of lifted hip-hop out of the parties or dragged it out of the parties and into the streets a bit more. That's kind of how it felt for me, listening to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, if me and my brother were in that conversation, we would have to herald the birth of Wu-Tang as that catalyst.
Okay.
Like, I mean, we were just, like I say, we were just a bunch of stupid kids who thought even though all of my talk about, you know, being humble and stuff like that, as a unit of guys, we felt invincible. Just due to who we were, where we came from, and the sense of being invincible and unstoppable, and that we could take on anything that you threw at us. So we you know, so there was no fear. Basically, there was no fear. And then, like I say, when Wu-Tang came out, it was like, oh shit, it was almost like, hallelujah. It was like, this is who we are. We didn't even realize this is what we need. And yeah, don't get me wrong. We took that, and we was like, as many other artists did. We were like, this is it.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't ever wear like massive jeans and Timberlands and all that stuff. We kept it London gritty and wore our own. We had our own identity. Some people took it a bit far around them times and started wearing like sleeping bag jeans and taking it a bit too far. We were never really into that. We always had this thing about keeping it uniquely and distinctively English or British or however you want to. But we were very adamant that we wanted to be considered to be Londoners, UK. We don't rap with a Yankan accent. We don't wear all these FUBUs and that wasn't what we wanted to be. We wanted people to see, which is why we always reference so many English, like Steptoe and Son, like Pat Jennings. Like, for anyone of your age, like I said before, what I used to do is like, what are they talking about? St. Ides, what's this? And look it up. If you don't know what Pat Jennings, I stop bullets like Pat Jennings. Look who Pat Jennings is. And then it's like, that makes so much sense now. Not just like literally, but also to who they are, because Pat Jennings was an Arsenal goalkeeper and he was an amazing one. And it makes sense. So all our references, Steptoe, I stay Steptoe and Son in this, Bear Slum in it, 3 weeks summer shit. I've had enough of it. It's referencing stuff that everyone who comes up around knows and says, that's sick, because we understand it. We didn't want to hear Americanisms.
I mean, that's, I think, kind of coming full circle to me that you said. That's kind of what resonated with me as well. I mean, I feel like a lot of people kind of start off by listening to American hip hop, like I did. That's the biggest stuff. I mean, even when I was growing up in the 2000s, 2010s, you still hear a lot of American stuff. And I remember finding Task Force, and it was MFTC 5. That was the first project I heard, and it's the kind of stories that he told that resonated with me. And I feel like it kind of gave an identity to the UK sound, at least to me, very early on, right? It kind of like stuff like, was it Another Day? You tell that story about like kind of families, and it's a UK British story, you know? And like that kind of resonates on a deeper level, and it's suddenly like I can listen to American stuff and I can understand half what they're saying, or I can listen to something and it's my life, you know? Like,
Well, there wasn't so much of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I mean, and that's why groups like London Posse, groups like Demon Boys, and they are heralded rightfully so as UK greats and legends because of their identification. Their identity was prolifically English.
Yeah.
So I live an English life, and I'm here to let you know, like it's so important to have an identity within your art, or else you're just a duplication of some other person's art, which is not, you know, we're a branch of a beautiful tree, you know what I mean? And if we were like pretending to be the trunk, like, you know, you try to visualize these things. So if we visualize hip hop as a tree, then we know that the trunk and the foundation of it is New York rap. From the early 70s through the 80s, all the different styles, all the combinations of different bits and counterparts of that culture, that the break dancing, the b-boys, the electro that came from the West Coast, and they all start to amalgamate into this beautiful trunk. And then everything else that comes off it, like your jazz hip hop, your this, your dilla, your all these different branches, and that creates the tree.
I mean, you guys are a pretty important branch. If they're saying that, I feel like it's.
I think for the identity of English UK hip hop, I think we've quite satisfyingly expressed ourselves clearly enough.
I'm laughing because I don't know. I feel like you're so humble about it. It's
No,
just
but I have to. I have to make it humble in the way, because I hear what you're saying, but I have to deliver it in a way so that people understand that we just did what we were doing because that's the right thing to do, not because we tried to do something different or tried to be anything else other than who we are. So to me, it's just like my wife sometimes. So I'll be like, I put out the bins, and she's like, "You're meant to do that."
Wow.
And it's like, so when you're saying that, I accept it, and I'll take it, and I'll be like, "Thanks, man. That's really fucking nice of you to say." But that was what we were meant to do. That's kind of like, we didn't do anything special. We just did what we were meant to do. Maybe we just did it thoroughly.
Yeah.
So when you tidy up your room when you're young, and you like just dash everything under the bed and like socks under the pillow, and your mum comes in and she knows fine well, and she's like, "All right, cool." But now when you're an adult, it's like, yeah, let me get everything, change the sheets, change the duvets, under the thing, hoovering, cobwebs, the whole thing. So you do it thoroughly. When you do something thoroughly, people say, "That's special." Just because people are so used to like people doing shoddy work.
Damn, there we go. That's the metaphor for for you guys.
There you go.
But I mean, also, I guess on the kind of East Coast tip, it's sick. Then where you've kind of landed at now, and you've kind of been producing for all these artists on the East Coast, like people like Rome Streets and stuff. I mean, it's quite a cool combination of like you say, a 40-year-long experience of listening to that sounds, right?
I mean, this was the most humbling moment in my career. Because it was, I mean, we all want to be not justified. We want to be kind of acknowledged.
Yeah.
And when, like, it's great, like all the UK cats and Europeans and Australians and America's a very different kettle of fish. They don't want to hear you rap. They don't want to hear English rappers. Even the successful ones, they're still like, they can't stand it. And I get it. because why would they? It's like in the square space of like a square mile in New York, there's like 1,000 rappers that are probably better and more skillful than everyone in the whole of Europe. It's one of them ones. It's just natural to them. And why shouldn't it be? Because it's something in your ear. It's like an American voice rapping lyrics. That's exactly what it is. That's what it always has been, and it's the most natural sound of hip-hop you can have. So when they hear like an abrasive, like Cockney or like whatever accent rapping lyrics, to them I think it probably sounds like hexagons being shoved into their ear, like really abrasive objects being pushed into their ear hole. That's kind of how I always envision it. So I thought I was done writing, rapping and stuff. So I decided I wanted to try and work with some Americans. I had no idea that it would go anywhere. And the first American that I worked with was a fella called Marcomi, who is actually one of the best new underground rappers. I mean, he's not young, but he's so prolific.
Yeah.
Like he's hanging out with Jay-Z and shit like this. So it's like I wrote to him, he wrote to me. I got excited. I sent him about 120 beats. And then a couple of months later, he sent me a demo for the first track that he'd recorded, that he released on one of his prolific $1,000 records that he does.
Piece of art.
Which I don't own. And I just thought, oh, this is absolutely amazing. I had no idea really who he was. I just had listened to one of his albums, Haitian Body Odor, and I thought, this is great. And I'd gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole trying to search out American hip-hop that I hadn't heard and wasn't mainstream. And I had no idea that there was all this stuff going on. This is about 2018. And then I realized Giallo Point was part of the scene, working with Danielson from Canada and other people. And then I realized he was actually a Task Force fan. And I was like, this is really fucking interesting. So I thought, all right, you know, when dots start to join without any effort. And I thought, I must be doing this, is follow it. So I found this guy, Rome Streets. I think he says he found me, and I'm going to say I found him. I found him. And I said, yeah, what's up? And we started chatting, obviously back and forth. I had an album that I put out called Sentimental Alien, which is an album with equal amount of UK artists and American artists. And I asked Rome to do a track on there, which is on there, and it's a really, really cool track. And then we just ended up doing an album together called Street Pharmacy. And it was very, very well received, and in some circles is considered a classic of the Renaissance. And then we did the second album. Then I started doing bits and pieces for people like Conway The Machine. Then Rome Streets got signed to Griselda. Did some work with Vinnie Paz. Did some work with Ill Bill.
Mad.
You know, had conversations with people about this, that, and the other. Started talking to people like DJ Muggs, DJ Mathematics from Wu-Tang. So all of a sudden, it's like I'm getting messages from people who are like,
Mad.
yo, like chatting to what's DJ Eclipse, chatting to people like PF Cutting, who was like a childhood DJ super god. And all of a sudden, it came to me. I was like, I've been literally accepted by the nucleus, by the trunk of the tree. The trunk of the tree has said, I'm all right. And that I belong on the flipping tree.
Yeah.
And that was like, there's a word I'm looking for. It hasn't come to me, unfortunately.
Vindicated? Is it?
Vindicated.
Yeah.
I was vindicated, and it was like, you are part of this fucking thing. And I said to myself, so for me that was it. And then I thought, thank you so much. I was so grateful for my journey, and I thought, well, there's not really much more you can say after that. And I thought, this is fucking great. And I thought, well, instead of trying to like, you know, dry it out, then I started like reaching out to more UK guys and having a listen to what they were doing. I did my £10 bags, which is a homage to Louis Slipper's £10 bag albums. And in doing that, reached out to people I knew, but also reached out to people I didn't know, reached out to people who had stuff they wanted me to use and I didn't want to use it, and started to feel, you know, don't get me wrong, I've always known about Dirty Dyke and Jam Baxter and Jest and all these artists. C.L. Brooks, love C.L. Brooks, love his attitude, love all of that kind of stuff. Lee Scott, all the blah lot, Bill Shakes, all of this stuff I'm a fan of. Leaf, Smelleton, Piff, all them RLD lot, all the Brighton lot. No, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not blinkered because I'm a fan and a student, so I'm always checking. But in doing all of that, my competitive nature was reawoken. Not particularly because I thought anything was really off or bad, but because I knew that I can fit back in. I didn't think, well, this is a climb. I didn't think, wow, I'm going to really, you know, I belong. And I felt from what I've done and the success with the beats and making the beats for the Americans and what the American embrace felt like for me, I thought, well, actually, I'm actually quite a special guy. And I allowed myself to have it. So I'm actually quite special because who else? Yeah, I'll say Giallo, Sonny, and these guys. We've got people who are active and working and making that transatlantic connection and doing it well, because I'm not a great fan of it. I don't like hearing US rappers with UK rappers together. Yeah, it's never really been my cup of tea. Because I too think it sounds abrasive when it's mixed sometimes. So I felt like I belong. And I felt like, and I think you can hear that in How to Kill a Butterfly, is that I'm saying not so much it's mine, move out the way, but more like I belong here. So do you mind like nudging over a little bit, please? Because my seat's over there, someone's sitting in it.
Here come the gods.
Here come the gods.
But then I guess coming full circle with this project now after the East Coast stuff. And I guess for me, what I'm really curious about is the title of the project.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a bit of sleuthing, or I guess I was trying to work it out. Like, I had the fucking pins on the board, trying to draw it all together. And yeah, I mean, there's Butterfly Concerto back in the day. There was Butterfly Effect as well. Is it the same metaphor, do you think, or?
Well, you know, obviously the butterfly theme. I mean, the sad part about all of what I have in front of me is that I will be doing it without my brother. And that is something that, as an individual, you know, completely without anyone else, without family around, my journey has always been one that I share. And I've always shared it with my younger brother. And I mean, as it being what it is, we've actually done quite well together, relationship-wise, for such a long time. And just due to life and other, you know, bits and pieces of how people have to grow, sometimes you have to grow apart. You know, slowly but surely we grew apart and had different ideas, and creatively, but also just in life. And the butterfly journey is kind of over. So it's probably a metaphor for it being Task Force. And like I say about people commenting and making comments and stuff, and I appreciate it because it makes me think, But I think someone said it's not the same without Chester, and I think no, it's obviously not. But my reaction to that is, but it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be Task Force. It's not meant to be the same. It's not meant to be just for Task Force fans. It's not called Task Force. So therefore, there's a whole ball of emotions wrapped in this particular album. I think in the later bits of work that you'll hear from me, you'll see it being a little bit more comfortable. I think you'll probably feel it throughout this album when you listen to it, that I'm still emotional. And the title is emotional. It's evocative of my journey ending. Butterflies, a symbolic thing for rebirth. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, there might be some really thick people out there, but it starts as a caterpillar.
Yeah.
And then it goes into a cocoon, and then it becomes a butterfly. And the butterfly thing was just something that we had as a task force feeling. I don't know why we always stuck with this butterfly thing, but it was a task force thing. So how to kill a butterfly is quite symbolic of a journey ending and a new one beginning, really.
No.
And like I say, it's very definitely embroiled in a ball of some upset, some confusion, some elation, all types of different emotions going on. But it's also equally quite a sad moment for me because I love Task Force. I absolutely adore it. I adore what it stands for. I adore what we did. I adore what we've done. And somewhere deep down inside, I believe that we could do it again. But it's sometimes you have to. Maybe it's me. Maybe I needed to just like claim my own foundation to say, actually, I can do this on my own. I'm not really sure. But yeah, How to Kill a Butterfly is the start and the end at the very same time.
Damn. Well, it's a beautiful moment. I guess, yeah. Nah. I mean, also on the cover, I don't know if I'm right, but it's kind of like a monarch butterfly.
It is a monarch butterfly, yeah. It being a butterfly that belongs to the Great British Isles. It's all symbolic. You have to be. Not everything has to be a sledgehammer, and I'm a very blunt person, so I say stuff quite bluntly most of the time. If I'm trying to say something that I want you to understand, you will understand very clearly the first time. When I'm trying to be like, a little bit cryptic and arty, then I'll throw in loads of references and nostalgic pointers and markers, and you can pin it all together and you get something out of it. There's a bit about this ain't solar versus lunar. It's a scarecrow with a different name. This means something. Task Force fans know what it means. Other people would be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Which is fine, but people have always thought that about me as a rapper. What the fuck is that guy talking about? Sometimes I ain't talking about nothing. I'm actually talking absolute shit. It just sounds good. Yeah. But things like that. On the MFTC1, we mixed up the track listing. So Solar versus Lunar is actually the track Scarecrows, and Scarecrows is actually Solar versus Lunar. So this ain't Solar versus Lunar. It's a scarecrow with a different name.
Damn.
So all these little references. But I'm a Mac Bain. I'm Music from the Corner. I'm Task Force till I die. I'm Berry Crew till I die. Fuck it. I'm Mud Fam till I die. So it's like I say, it's a joyful moment, but it's also like a real heart moment for me.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place to cut it, I think.
Peace, Solomon.
Listen to the album.
Yeah, no, go and get that album. 31st. I think you'll enjoy it, and keep your ears and eyes open because there's lots more to come.
Yeah.
Lots more to come.
Peace.
Peace.